So joint custody or joint managing custody, joint managing conservatorship, sole custody, what is all that? So the technical term is sole managing conservatorship, possessory conservatorship, or joint managing conservatorship. In the history of Texas law, the family code came around like the 70s, somewhere along that time, and the language has evolved. There was kind of like a primary parent and a managing conservator now, and then a possessory conservator was like the dad, and it used to be preference for the mom. There's no longer gender preferences in Texas law. The term joint managing conservator is a presumed that unless there's some kind of substantial problem with a parent, that it's going to be joint managing conservatorship. If the court is presented with no evidence about the parents, it's presumed that joint managing conservatorship is in the best interest of the children. Now, some people say, well, I want sole custody. Sole custody means that the other parent's rights are terminated and they're no longer legally related to the person. So they're no longer mom or no longer dad, and they get no visitation, nothing. That's sole conservatorship. Sole managing conservatorship means that they're the person that is the one who makes the major decisions. Most of those major decisions are not emergency medical, but voluntary medical or invasive medical, meaning it's cutting into the body of the child, or determining the primary residence of the child. So when they say primary custody, it's who determines the primary residence of the children. There's also a thing in the Texas Family Code where the parent who has the primary right to designate the residence, they get the children during school time, basically Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The other parent gets Thursdays, and then the weekends, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are alternated, with the other parent getting the first, third, and fifth, which is actually a little bit more than every other weekend, because 4 times a year there's a fifth weekend of the year. But the other parent will get every Thursday, and then they get a month in the summer. Historically, that was like, well, when the working dad, that would be dad's weekends. But there's not a preference now, and plenty of dads have primary custody, plenty of moms have primary custody, and it basically is just determined by the circumstances and situation of the child. Possessory conservatorship is that you're not a managing conservator. You don't make certain management decisions. Like another management decision is educational decisions. So it's a lot of times medical, educational, sometimes directing the religious teachings and education of the child. Those are the major ones. Elective surgeries, gender type of surgeries, kind of a big deal lately in light of what's been going on in the law. There's some major cases in Texas about that, about who gets to make those decisions on gender changes or sex changes. So the managing conservator who gets to make those individual decisions, if it's joint managing, then the presumption is that they both get to make those decisions. Now, sometimes we'll put in there clauses like they have independent right to make that decision after meaningful consultation with the other side, or do they have the independent right without having to even consult with the other side, or do they have to provide information to the other side, and can the other side attend school activities? Can the other side attend the medical appointments? What input does each parent have on certain key decisions, like the medical, educational, and then certain financial decisions? Plus, who is the parent who receives child support? If you're designating the primary residence of the child, you're usually the parent who has the exclusive right to receive and disperse funds for the benefit of the child for child support. So a lot of times when people are saying, I want sole managing, what they're asking for actually is primary conservatorship. Most of the time it's joint managing. They've changed that vocabulary to where it's not offensive, in title, to the other parent who doesn't get to make certain decisions. So joint managing is what almost all parents and custody arrangements are going to be in the state of Texas now. So it's joint managing conservatorship, but the things we're usually focused on are educational decisions, medical decisions, and who gets to receive child support and where the child is going to live. And a lot of times we don't even designate somebody who gets to determine the primary residence. We simply state that the primary residence is designated as a certain geographic restriction and geographic location. And even when somebody does get the right to designate a primary residence, it's usually still geographically limited. Why? Because every 5 minutes farther apart that you live is a 10-minute bigger problem. If you live an hour away, and usually, like a lot of times, like it's one county and any county that touches it. So like even inside of Dallas County itself, for example, or especially Harris County in Houston, you ever tried to get 10 miles across Houston? Sometimes it takes you 2 hours. So, you may be 10 miles in the same county. Imagine being a county farther apart, 3-hour drive just to get to and back from somewhere in Houston. So, a geographic restriction, closer restrictions and things like that are one of the primary rights. But most of the time, you're going to be in a joint managing conservatorship situation. So if you're going through a divorce and trying to figure out what's going to happen to your kids, then go to softdivorce.com. We'll get you through that process in the healthiest way possible, because divorce doesn't have to be so hard.